Good morning and welcome to the Earth's Final Warning radio podcast. I'm your host, Brian DeLore, and I thank you all for tuning into the program this morning. And on today's program, I'm going to be continuing with my message on the beasts of Daniel and Revelation. And this is part 2 of that message. If you recall, in the previous lesson, I talked at length about Nebuchadnezzar's statue. Just to recap, in case you have not heard that message, Nebuchadnezzar had a dream in which he saw a statue, a very high statue, and the statue basically it represented 4 successive Gentile empires that would rule over Israel. And so these empires were represented by different metals. Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonian Empire, was represented by a head of fine gold. The arms and chest of silver represented the Medes and Persians, which the Median Persian Empire, which succeeded the Babylonian Empire. The belly and thighs of brass represented the Grecian Empire under Alexander the Great. And the legs of iron and the feet of iron and clay with 10 toes represented the Roman Empire, and the 10 toes represent a revived Roman Empire which will come to power during the 7-year tribulation period spoken of in the book of Revelation. So that's what Nebuchadnezzar's statue represents. But then we come down here to Daniel chapter 7, and in Daniel chapter 7, the same empires are being described, but they're being described as God sees them, as beasts, and I'm going to talk at length about that tonight. So we'll start in Daniel chapter 7, verse 1. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of heaven strove upon the great sea, and 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. The first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given it. And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised itself up on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it, and they said unto it, Arise, devour much flesh. After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. I want you to hang on to that in your thinking, because I'm going to be discussing it in a couple of minutes. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands times thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. Now let me go ahead and stop right here. I'm getting too far past what we need to discuss. These 4 beasts, as I told you a few minutes ago, you can see that God is giving you another history lesson, more or less, because these 4 medals on Nebuchadnezzar's statue, and these 4 beasts represent the 4 successive Gentile empires that ruled over Israel. And these are all historically verified. So one thing we can take from this is that this proves the validity of the Bible. This proves that the Bible is accurate. This proves that the Bible was not conjured up and written by somebody who just had the desire for there to be a God and all of these different things. I mean, world history proves that these Gentile empires have come and they're not gone, but they did rule over Israel, and each was succeeded by another Gentile empire until we come to the fall of Rome. And Rome was taken over from within. And so we're going to talk now about these beasts, and we're going to talk specifically right now about this first portion of the chapter 7 of Daniel. And he says that Daniel saw in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of heaven strove upon the great sea. Now, the 4 winds of heaven represent war, and the sea represents humanity, more or less. And it says that 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. If I've told you, I believe, in the message on Nebuchadnezzar's statue, that if you look at the metals involved in that, they decrease in value. Each empire decreased in value as you reach the bottom of the statue, until when we get to the 10 toes and the feet, they're mixed with iron and with clay. And iron does not mix with clay any more than oil mixes with water. I mean, there's a message in that I don't want to get into right now because I'll be getting ahead of myself. But suffice it to say that the metals decreased in quality, and if you read about these beasts, each beast is diverse one from the other, and it seems to me the first beast is like a lion. Well, the lion is, the king of the jungle, as they say. So, and then of course a bear is a strong and voracious creature, and then a leopard is a quick and swift and voracious creature. And then in when it says that the Roman Empire, the Fourth Empire, was strong as iron. If you read about the Roman Empire, I mean, they were just a vicious and cruel empire that ruled with an iron fist, as they say, ruled with an iron hand, rather. Okay, but let me get back to this and explain this in a little more detail. So the first was like a lion. Well, the lion happens to be the symbol that represented the Babylonian kingdom. A lion which had eagle's wings on it. That represented the Babylonian kingdom, and that also represented the wings, represented the swiftness with which Babylon conquered the known world at that time. And then Daniel says, I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth and made stand upon the feet as a man, and the man's heart was given up to it. What that is referring to, I believe it's in Daniel chapter 5, if I'm not, or 6, I'm not quite sure, but this is referring to when Nebuchadnezzar, in chapter 4, Nebuchadnezzar had a dream about himself. And in that dream, he saw a great tree, and he saw everything resting under the tree. Everybody was being blessed, more or less, by this tree. And then it came a time when God told the angel, cut the tree down, but leave the stump of it in the ground. And so when Daniel was called in to interpret this dream for King Nebuchadnezzar, this is the second time he was called in by Nebuchadnezzar to interpret a dream. When Daniel interpreted the dream, he told him, this is about you, O king. And the basic message was given to Nebuchadnezzar that he needed to quit honoring himself as if he were the one who had accomplished all these great things, because God had given him the ability to accomplish these things. And God gave him 1 year, and Nebuchadnezzar did not repent. And there was a day when he was walking through his house, saying to himself, I guess, have not I built this great empire? This is my paraphrase. You can read it in these chapters in Daniel. And at that moment, it says, a voice Nebuchadnezzar heard a voice from heaven, and he was driven to live with the wild beast. And he lived with those wild beasts for 7 years. And after 7 years, it says he looked up, and I guess that was the point at which he acknowledged that God was the one who had given him his empire and these great victories, and God healed him of his insanity. And that's why it says that I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth and made to stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. And okay, so that's what that is referring to. And then it's in verse 5, Daniel says, he saw another beast, a second like to a bear. Now remember, I just told you that bears are very voracious creatures. So this is the nature. God is revealing through his word the nature of these beasts or these kingdoms. And it says, it raised itself up on one side and had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it, and they said unto it, arise and devour much flesh. Now there was, this is talking about the Medes and the Persians. So the bear raising itself up on one side became the dominant power here, and that was the Persian side, much like it is today. And I'll just let that hang there. Anyhow, and there were several conquests, one of which was Babylon, Egypt. I think it was Assyria, but I'm not certain of the third kingdom. But they conquered 3 kingdoms. So that is represented by the ribs in the mouth of the beast. And the ribs, those conquests are telling it, hey, arise, devour much flesh. They became very power hungry. And then we go here to verse 6, and Daniel says, after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. And the beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. And this is speaking of the kingdom of Greece, or the Grecian Empire, under Alexander the Great. And when Alexander, the 4 wings of a fowl, again refer to the swiftness with which he conquered his foes. And then the 4 heads represent 4 kings to whom his kingdom was distributed after he died, and I believe it's 323 BC, if I'm not mistaken. Either 323 or 333. I'm not exactly sure of when he died, but that either one of those. And he died, some say he died of a fever, some say he died of alcoholism, and he was only 33 years old. And he died, and he had no children. So his kingdom was divided up among his 4 generals. And out of those 4 kingdoms, there arose 2 that were great. And those were the Seleucid dynasties, which are mentioned later on in Revelation chapter 11. And we're going to be talking about that. I'm going to be doing this study for a couple of days because I want people to understand that, first of all, the Bible is true. And these prophecies that I'm sharing with you now prove that. So that I want people to understand that. Secondly, I want people, Christians, the body of Christ, needs to know these things, because there are people who have questions. And you can point to these things. These are a matter of historical record. And you can say, look at this. This happened just like the Bible said it would. Just like God said it would hundreds of years before it actually came to pass. And this should encourage people and increase their faith. Okay, so we're going to get now to verse 7. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly. Remember, this is talking about the Roman Empire, and I told you they were a very vicious and cruel empire. Remember all the tortures that were perpetrated against Christians by the Catholic Church, and before that even. So Rome was a very vicious empire, and you're going to see that viciousness return at the end of the age. The beast was dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth that devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. I considered the 10 horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots, and behold, in this horn were the eyes like of man, and a mouth speaking great things. And that is speaking of the 10 horns are speaking of the 10 subdivisions of Rome, which in the end times will become some sort of confederation that gives their strength for a short time to the Antichrist. And so that's what that is talking about. And these 4 horns will rule with the Antichrist, and that the Antichrist is represented by the 11th horn, with the eyes of the man speaking great things, and he subdued 3 of the kings before him. This is referring to the Antichrist. Now, this beast here corresponds with the beast in Revelation chapter 13 as well as chapter 17, the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. That is speaking of the Antichrist. And, of course, this is also, going back to Nebuchadnezzar's statue, this is also represented by the 10 toes on the statue. This is speaking of the revived Roman Empire. Remember, Rome fell, and when it fell, it was divided between 2 divisions, which are the legs of Nebuchadnezzar's statue, and one is the Eastern and the other is the Western Roman Empire. And I forget all the nations that those divisions had with it. I know the Western Empire had Britain, Germany, France. Oh my goodness, I just don't remember right now. I'm going to get into this later on anyway, so there's no point to worry about that. So that's going to do it for today. I hope what you've heard so far has helped you and blessed you. And of course, as always, I recommend that you study these things for yourself. Check them out. Check out what I'm saying, and gain some knowledge about these things, because these things are vitally important. It's vitally important for Christians to understand these things, because we're now living in the times when these things are going to start to come to pass very shortly. And so it would serve you well to have the knowledge that I'm trying to impart to you today through this program, and that will bless you, and you can use it to bless others. Okay, with that, I'm going to go ahead and close out the program. I'm sure you all know by now my website, AmericanChristianRadio.org. Also, my new app, Truth Central Christian Radio. You can download that for free off Google Play. And soon I will be doing a radio program on a network. And that radio program, it's a live call-in program. And that program will only be accessible through this application. Okay, as always, when I close out the program, I leave you with this reminder until the next time we meet. Keep the faith and defend the truth. Have a good night, everyone.